going to your phone calls here momentarily on this live Friday edition. We have the sheriff who's got a Mexican hit out on him, a contract out on him, joining us coming up in the next hour. Very important information. But Bob, getting back into the economy, because we only spoke a few minutes about that, why do you think they're finally announcing in CNBC and the New York Times and just everywhere, okay, it's a depression? I mean, my answer is because now they're going to sell us the next solution, giving the very bankers that did this more power. I hate to even call them bankers because there are real banks and, you know, real banks that loan money locally that do a good job in many cases. But these swindlers, these money changers, these globalists that pose as bankers, these Ponzi scheme operators. But, I mean, what does it mean, though, to have them signifying that we are going into a depression? I mean, is it because they know the public isn't buying it anymore, that we're in a recovery? I mean, we go from them saying we're in a recovery to maybe it's a double-dip recession overnight to it's a depression.
Well, I think that the public realizes there's something dramatically wrong. What they call it is irrelevant. And the recognition of that by the media may have come about because of the tremendous outside pressures that we've created. And I think that it could also be that, and I put this in the International Forecaster not too long ago, I've been told because Congress has refused to provide funds for the extension of unemployment that they won't provide funds for stimulus. And that means that the Federal Reserve is going to have to supply the money. And I've been told that over the next 2.5 years approximately, they're going to apply about $5 trillion to the economy. And so if major media was saying, gee, it's going to be a double-dip recession, and, woe is me, and then all of a sudden, perhaps several months from now, everything starts to turn around, and the media would say, well, and that's the people who said these things, that, well, look, I guess we were wrong, things are turning around, and it's going to be okay. And so they can, go with the other side. But that's what I think is going to happen. It'll be very inflationary. It'll probably keep the stock market from plunging where it should plunge to on a short-term basis, but the market's still going to go down to reflect lower earnings and a lower GDP during the second half of this year. And I think you're seeing that in the market now. Yes, we had a couple of mini recoveries, one during the last week, which Wall Street would call a dead cat bounce. And I think we're going down to the 8,000, 8,500 area here prior to the election. We could go deeper. And it's because the fundamentals just aren't there. Through stimulus and through the Fed, both are producing about $2.3 trillion. All we did was go sideways for a little over a year and slightly higher in GDP. Very little was accomplished. Unemployment this second half of the year, easily 25% in real rates. And then you have all these people who are going to be roaming around, 2 million of them without checks anymore. They're not going to be very happy. So I think August and September are going to be volatile months because I think a lot of people are going to be complaining. Some might demonstrate. There could possibly be riots, but I don't foresee that, at least in my mind's eye at this point in time. And so you're going to have a lower stock market, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be disgruntled about that because the value of their pensions and their cash value life insurance policies and also your annuities are going to go down in value because the stocks are going down and they own them. And so it's not a happy time. And even if the Fed throws money at the whole thing, will it work?
Well, regardless, now is the time to get the maximum effort out because the system is trying to use the crisis they've created to remake the world in their image where they have even more power to control our lives and become even more wealthy. And it's critical that during this crisis, when people are actually ready to listen, that we tell the truth so there's an alternative to their tyranny. So this is such an important crossroads such an important, critical time in history. Let's go to Shanky in Georgia. You're on the air with Bob Chapman. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. Alex, just want to let you know I became a Prison Planet member a couple of weeks ago, and the videos on there really are over the top, unbelievable, informative, really well done. I've really enjoyed being a member over there. And I think you're right. It was Bob and y'all are right with radio and the internet being the main vehicles to keep us all motivated and getting the word out. That is, as long as we have the internet,
Yeah, they wouldn't be trying to shut the web down worldwide and free speech down and curtail it if it was ineffective. They're now openly saying they want to shut it down, which is a big blow for them to have to come out and say it. It shows what tyrants they are. They wouldn't be doing this if it didn't have power.
Alex, let me give you kudos on one thing. You are the only person on the planet to point out that LeBron didn't go to Chicago because Illinois has got $13 billion in debt. He's not going to go to a city, a state that's underwater. I want to give you kudos for that.
Well, no, I mean, that's how I knew, and of course, Jaron pointed this out as well to me, that Florida doesn't have a state income tax like Texas and a few others. And so, of course, he's going to go there if he's getting what's his contract, $99 million or something? I mean, if he's got this giant contract, he is going to go where he gets to keep more of that. If you've got a 5, 10, 15% state income tax like some states have, even higher, why would someone give up $15 million to go to Chicago or somewhere else? Why wouldn't they keep it? I mean, and that's why everybody's leaving England and people are leaving France. And that's why the UN has said over and over again, and so is the OECD, this big global management group, that they want worldwide taxes. The New World Order, first and foremost, is about unified taxes so they can jack them up and up and up and no one can run. Let's get a quick comment on that from Bob, and you can come back, Shanky. Go ahead, Bob.
That is certainly true. And these banks in these countries all over the world are following OECD guidelines, right to a T. It just isn't, the U.S. pushing the issue. It is the OECD, and they are doing it. Most countries that I know of question everything that goes through your account. And, they want to know, well, you just received $100,000 a check from XYZ company in the United States to go into your account in Mexico City. Why did you do that? And the company says, well, we're in business and we sell things in the United States.
And then meanwhile,
do you think it came from heaven?
Exactly, but then meanwhile, hundreds of billions of dollars of drug money are laundered by Federal Reserve megabank members, shareholders, and that's not an issue. That's left alone. But now they're trying to change IRS regulations, and I actually got an email about this. People wanted me to ask you, where $600, if you sell a $600 used riding lawnmower, they're saying it's going to be a federal felony if you don't report that and pay taxes. They know the underground economy is keeping America hanging on. They want us bankrupt. And so they're going to harass some car wash in California for a 4-cent unpaid tax bill. And that was in the news up in Sacramento. The IRS showed up with armed agents. But meanwhile, hundreds of billions are in the banks of drug money. That's not going to be looked at.
That's right. And what are we talking about? We're talking about $750 billion a year. And about $300 billion of that comes out of Afghanistan in the form of marijuana, and what eventually becomes heroin.
You mean opium?
I guess who's running it.
Well, they admit our government's growing the opium over there. Anything else, Shanky?
Yeah, real quick. Bob's got a great post on your site, Witness the Recent Gold Market Takedowns, and he's got a statement in there that says the result of this treachery is coming with the complete collapse of the stock market and the end of real estate, as an investment. The powers that Bob, talk a little bit more about the gold manipulation, if you can sum it up in a few minutes, and I'll hang up.
Real fast. I mean, I could boil it down and get Bob's take. It's very simple. It's like a beach ball. They can push it down, but it always goes up even higher. You look at the year-long or the 2-year or the 5-year or the 7-year graph, it's straight up. But the manipulation is damaging the economy. Bob, tell folks.
And they started that in '68 illegally. It became legal in '88 through the Working Group in Financial Markets. executive order. And it's not only the gold and silver market, they're manipulating everything. I mean, this is truly a corporatist fascist economy. And yes, as the gentleman said, and you did as well, Alex, it's like a beach ball. And, yeah, they can push it under, but it comes popping right back up again. And it's going to continue to do that because it's the only real money in the world.
Well said. Let's go to another caller. Let's talk to Duff in Kansas. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex, it's a real privilege to get to talk to you as a result of listening to
Duff, it's good to talk to you, but your phone is really bad. Try to get it out quick.
You got
Put Duff on hold and see if they can get a